Number one, it's referring to the entire creation, the skies and the earths that are within them, and all of what's in them and between them, as mentioned by Ad-Dahhak from Ibn Abbas. Secondly, it's every single thing that contains a soul on the face of the earth. This is related by Abu Salih from Ibn Abbas. Third is that it's referring also to the jinn and human beings, as mentioned by Ibn Abbas and Mujahid and Muqatil. And then fourthly, it can also be taken to being referring to the jinn, the human beings, and the angels, as discussed by Ibn Abbas and Ibn Qutaybah. And then fifthly, sometimes alameen can be used in this context to refer to the angels, which was discussed by Ibn Abbas. So after looking at this statement, we then go from Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. So we see then the way that it is recited is some people may recite it Ar-Rahmanur Rahim or Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, with some of them such as Abu al-Aliya, Ibn Sumayfa, Isa ibn Umar saying Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Some like Abu Razin al-Uqayli and Ar-Rabi' ibn Khaytham and Abu Imran al-Jawni mainly reciting it Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and the rest reciting it Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Close quote. So when you're looking at the passage, it has to do with Arabic grammar, because when you start a new sentence, most of the people in the past recited it Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, because they're holding the beginning of the sentence Alhamdulillah when the sentence has gone into a form in which every word is ending with an I sound. When you're reading it all through, they read the Fatiha as one sentence. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Right? All with this sound. But when you're reading it as sentence by sentence, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. You're reading it sentence by sentence, not as part of a continuous flow. This is a grammatical point in Arabic. It's a grammatical point. Again, before you introduce this to your local community, think to yourself, can they understand and appreciate the difference? It's different if this is part of who you are and that's the only qira'ah, that's the qira'ah that you know it's favored. But don't just look at something and say, Alhamdulillah, the masjid needs some spring cleaning. It's time to open up the doors and wake some people up. Don't do that, because you could create more tribulation and fitna than you want to. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah then says, we come to the passage, quote, he says, quote, then Allah has said, Maliki Yawmiddin. It is recited by Asim, Al-Kasai, Khalaf and Yaqub as Maliki with an alif. But Ibn As-Sumayfa and Ibn Abi Abla also recited in the same fashion. But you will find that Abu Hurairah and Asim Al-Jahdari recited it Milki with the lam silent. Maliki. You'll find others reciting it in a similar fashion. You'll find some reciting it like Sha'bi as Maliki. And Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, you'll find that Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, Aisha, Muwarraq, Al-Ajli recited it Maliki. Except that the last part of the kaf would sometimes be recited with Maliku instead of Maliki. Ubay ibn Ka'ab, Abu Raja, Al-Itaridi recited it Maliki with a ya. And Amr ibn al-As also did the same thing, but said Maliku. Abu Hanifa and Abu Haywa recited Malika with one way, and sometimes recited Maliki Yawmiddin. All of this being preserved. However, The vast majority of people, as narrating from Abu Amr and the Jamhur of reciters, recite Maliki with the meme having a fatha, the kasra on the lam, and it is the most famous and well known recitation, because every Malik is a Malik. Every king is an owner, but not every owner is a king. Every Malik is a Malik, but not every Malik is a Malik. Close quote. Now this is another important point. In the beginning of our discussion on Fatihah, recited from Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. The same as you hear in Surah Al-Nas, Maliki Nas. You have heard Maliki Yawmiddin, haven't you? That's what you've heard your whole life, haven't you? Well, I'm afraid that's not all you've heard. That's not all that's out there. I'm afraid that's not all that's out there. Why? Because the qira'ah that you're hearing is Hafs ibn Abi Sulaiman from Asim, from the companions all the way back to the companions and back. That's one qira'ah. The whole qira'ah that you will learn coming from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Turkey, that's true. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. It's true. There's no dispute. I'm not disputing that at all. That's absolutely right. But that's from Hafs and Asim. From the reciter Hafs, from his Sheikh Asim, from those Sheikh Asim, from that Sheikh, all the way back to some of the companions. But there's also another, which is Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. It's Warsh. It's Warsh or Nafi'. Both Warsh and Nafi' are students of Ibn Umar, and they recite it in this fashion. If you look at the mushafs that Uthman sent out, this is Qira' Hafs and Asim from those companions that recited Maliki. Maliki. You'll see the alif maqsura is there. But when you look in the mushafs that Uthman sent out, the copies that we have of the mushafs he sent, it's Maliki. Ali in Basra has written it, Maliki. Anas in his notes on it has written Maliki. But Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu has written it Maliki. And then you'll get the purist. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? As if the companions were simply Buddhist monks happened to stumble across the Qira'ah. I'll give you your answer. In the Tafsir of Ibn Atiyah, he says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam يقرأ مالك يوم الدين أحيانا ويقرأ مالك يوم الدين أحيانا. Both of them. So there's no way to sort of get down to this super duper purist Betty Crocker form of Islam where it's a cake mix and we just force this one way on everyone. No, just can't do it. So how does all this pan out? The qira'ah of those companions that spread out, you will find the Shafi'is and Hanafis reading Maliki Yawmiddin. That's what you've heard in Turkey. That's what you've heard in Pakistan. That's what you've heard in India. That's what you've heard in Bangladesh. That's what you've heard in Malaysia and Indonesia and the Philippines. That's what you've heard. But Basra and Medina and Mecca, of the early generations, it's Maliki Yawmiddin. And that's what you hear in North Africa. I heard it several times when I was on Hajj. I heard it from the Imams of the Haram. Maliki. I heard it from Masjid Ahmad ibn Hanbal when I was in the Hijaz. This is the understanding. Imams Malik and Ahmed have a preference for the qira'ah of Warsh or Qalun and Nafi'. Do not make this an issue. If you think that you're going to go to Mauritania or Az-Zubayr in Iraq or Fas in the Maghrib and you're going to make them say Maliki, you've got another thing coming. You really do. You've got another thing coming. You're not going to make them say Maliki any more than they've got a right to make you say Maliki. Now they're going to say, well, look, it's Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi, he says the Jamhur says that it's Maliki. That's true. And Ibn Al-Jawzi is going to give you all the preferred positions like he's supposed to. But remember, he's a Hanbali. He's supposed to do that. Because that's his position, isn't it? But you must remember that he's very careful to be even-handed. So when you're listening in the Salah to a brother reciting, and you hear Maliki Yawmiddin, that's still your brother. That's still your sister. And when I hear Maliki Yawmiddin, that's still my brother. That's still my sister. Have to be willing to accept that, because when you go outside of the enclave that you're in, where you're safe in your special shell and no one can touch you in your cocoon, and you go out into the real world, into all of North Africa, where you have 380 million Muslims that are all saying Maliki Yawmiddin, I don't know what you're going to do. When you go to Egypt, South Egypt, the Hijaz, Yemen, you're going to be hearing it constantly. The key is, get used to it. They don't raise any complaints if they happen to stop off on a flight in Lahore and they have to hear Maliki Yawmiddin. No, they don't. So you have to do the same way with them. So you'll hear these different qira'at. So what you're reading, what the Asians will be reading, from Central Asians, the South Asians are reading, they're reading Hafs and Asim. That's why sometimes you'll see people that will be coming up and asking someone, oh, what qira'at do you read? What way of reciting the Qur'an, what qira'at do you read? Someone will say, oh, I'm reading Warsh and Nafi', I'm reading Qalun and Nafi'. Because some of the ayats in the Qur'an, like I mentioned, have been revealed more than one way. You're reading Hafs and Asim. Hafs. I'm reading in general. I can read Hafs, but often you'll hear me in the Salah reading Warsh or Qalun and Nafi'. And that's okay. That's okay. The Imam rahimahullah, Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he starts further on. He says, quote, now remember, we've already discussed Maliki or Maliki. Now we're looking at the use of the expression ad-Din. Ad-Din here is referring to two things. When we say Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the day of ad-Din, it means the owner of the day of reckoning. And this was said by Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Secondly, it means the owning of the day, the owner of the day of reward and the day that is to come. So, just look at this wisdom. When Allah revealed Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, praise be to Allah, the Lord of creation, He's referring to this entire dunya. But then when He said Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the day of the deen, He's referring to these, that He's the owner of the akhirah as well. So this is only to specify and show that Allah is owner of all things and has given the clear and decisive judgment on His creation. Then Allah has said, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, as is recited by Al-Hasan and Al-Mutawakkil, Abu Majlis. Some have recited it, يُعْبَدُ, Ibn Al-Anbari. But the meaning of what's being said here in the commentary sense is, say, O Muhammad, He, the Lord, you, the Lord, are the one who is to be worshipped alone. And remember other passages where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says things such as, حَتَّى إِذَا كُنْتُمْ فِي الْفُلْكِ وَجَرَيْنَ بِهِمْ